My sister hooked up with my boyfriend, so I fell in love with his dad. Yeah, I know how that sounds. But wait until you hear the whole story. Chapter 1. The Red Dress, the Night That Changed Everything. I'm standing in front of my closet, staring at this red dress, the one I bought for my anniversary with Tom. The anniversary that never happened, because 3 weeks ago, I walked into my apartment and found Tom in my bed, with my sister Emma, my own sister, in my bed. The image is burned into my brain. I can still hear Emma's fake gasp. See Tom scrambling for his pants. Hear him say those pathetic words. It's not what it looks like, except it was exactly what it looked like. 3 years together, 3 years of planning our future, and he threw it all away for my baby sister. Sarah, my best friend, walks into my room. She's holding 2 coffee cups, and she's got that look on her face. The one that says she's about to say something I won't like. You're really going through with this? She asks, going to the party where Tom will be with Emma. I grab the red dress off the hanger, not just going. I'm going to make them regret everything. Sarah sits on my bed. Babe, revenge isn't going to make you feel better. Maybe not, but it's worth a try. The party is at some fancy hotel. Big ballroom with chandeliers everywhere. Rich people in expensive clothes. Tom's family throws this charity thing every year. I've been to 4 of them. Always as Tom's girlfriend. Tonight I'm going alone. I walk in wearing that red dress, head high, shoulders back. And I see them immediately. Tom and Emma standing by the champagne table, her hand on his arm, him laughing at something she said. My stomach twists, but I don't look away. Tom sees me. His face goes white. Emma smiles, this little mean smile. Like she won some prize. Harper, Tom starts walking toward me. What are you doing here? It's a charity event. I'm allowed to buy a ticket. You need to leave. He's trying to sound tough, but his voice shakes. This is awkward for everyone. Awkward? I laugh. You cheated on me with my sister in my bed, and you're worried about awkward. People are starting to stare. Tom's face gets red. Harper, please, just go. Make this easier. Easier for who? For you. I step closer. You don't get to tell me what to do anymore. That's when I see him, an older man, watching us from across the room. He's tall, dark hair with some gray at the sides, wearing a suit that probably costs more than my car. And he's staring right at me, not at Tom, not at the scene we're making, at me. Our eyes meet, and something shifts in the air. Tom follows my gaze. His face changes, goes from angry to scared. Dad. He says it like a warning. Wait. That's Tom's dad. I've heard about him, never met him. Tom doesn't talk about his family much, just that his parents divorced 5 years ago. And his dad is kind of scary. The man starts walking toward us. People move out of his way, like they know who he is. Like they are afraid. Tom, his voice is deep, calm. But there's something dangerous underneath. Introduce me. This is Harper, Tom says quickly. My ex-girlfriend. She was just leaving. Was I. I look at Tom's dad. Up close, he's even more intimidating. Dark eyes that see everything, strong jaw, hands that look like they've done hard work. But he's looking at me like I'm interesting, not like trash his son threw away, Marco. He holds out his hand. Tom's father, Harper. I shake his hand. His grip is firm, warm. I'm sorry for the scene. Your son and my sister have made things complicated. Marco's eyebrow goes up. Your sister. He looks at Emma, then back at me. Interesting. Tom grabs my arm. Harper, let's talk outside. I pull away. Don't touch me. Tom. Marco's voice cuts through everything. Leave her alone. But Dad now. Tom backs off, actually backs away from me, and Emma rushes over to grab his hand. Playing the supportive girlfriend, it makes me sick. Marco is still looking at me. Would you like to dance? What? I blink. Did Tom's dad just ask me to dance? Dance with me? He says it again. Unless you'd rather stand here watching them. I look at Tom and Emma. They're whispering to each other, shooting looks at me, probably planning how to get me to leave. I'd love to dance. Marco offers his arm. I take it, and we walk to the dance floor. I can feel everyone watching. Tom's mouth is hanging open. Emma looks mad. Good. Marco pulls me close, one hand on my waist, the other holding mine. We start moving to the music. He dances like he does everything else, with complete control, every step perfect, every movement smooth. I forget to breathe. Tom is watching. I whisper, trying not to seem affected. Good. Marco pulls me closer. Keep looking at me. Why? Because if you look at him, he wins. Look at me. Only me. I do what he says, and everything else disappears. No more ballroom. No more music. No more people. Just him, dark eyes staring into mine, making me shake. You're dangerous, I manage to say. My voice comes out weird. Consider yourself warned, he replies, and then does something that almost makes me trip. He brings his mouth to my ear. Breath hot against my skin, and you're interesting. Why? Because you came here for revenge, he whispers. Lips almost touching my ear, and you're feeling something else. My heart races. Beating so hard I'm sure he can hear it. How do you know? He brings our joined hands to my neck, fingers pressing lightly against my pulse, feeling how fast it's going. Your pulse is racing, and it's not from anger. I can't breathe, can't think. All that exists is his closeness. The heat, the way he looks at me, like he could protect me from everything. This is wrong. I whisper without meaning it. Completely. He agrees but smiles. That smile should be illegal, but you like it. The music ends, but we don't move apart right away. We stand there, too close, looking at each other, like nothing else matters. Marco finally takes a step back, but his fingers stay on my waist, like he doesn't want to let go. Can I see you again? He asks, voice low. Outside of here, I should say no. Should remember this is about revenge, about making Tom pay, not about how my heart won't stop racing. Not about how my body still feels his touch. But I don't say no when I ask tomorrow, dinner, just us. No revenge, just us, he smiles, and this time it's different, softer, more real. Okay, the word comes out before I can stop it. Tomorrow, Marco takes my hand, raises it to his lips, kisses it. Like something from an old movie. Until tomorrow, Harper. Then he's gone, disappearing into the crowd, leaving me shaking in the middle of the dance floor. Sarah appears beside me instantly. Eyes wide, holy crap, she whispers. You just danced with the dad. I know, I say, still looking where he disappeared. And it was hot, like crazy hot. Even I felt it from here. I know, I repeat, unable to say anything else. From across the room I hear Tom. What is my dad doing with Harper? His voice is loud, angry, scared. Emma is beside him, eyes narrow with jealousy. Winning the game you lost, apparently. But it's Diana who scares me. She's standing farther away, a champagne glass in her hand, watching everything with ice, cold eyes. And while everyone focuses on me and Marco, I see her mouth moving, words I can't hear but can imagine. Words like this isn't going to happen, and for the first time since this crazy plan started, I feel fear run down my spine. Because Diana Ross isn't just angry as a mom protecting her son. She's angry as a woman who still loves her ex-husband. And women like that are way more dangerous. Chapter 2. The dinner this feels dangerous. The next day is a disaster. I wake up at 6 in the morning, after sleeping maybe 2 hours. My brain won't shut down, stuck replaying last night. The dance, his hands on my waist, my racing pulse, the dinner invitation, and worse, much worse, the way my whole body reacted to him. Like every cell recognized something my mind is still fighting. By 7 in the morning, my closet looks like a war zone. Clothes everywhere, on the bed, on the floor, hanging on the chair. Nothing works, nothing is good enough. Everything screams trying too hard, or not caring enough, and I'm stuck between panic and denial. Sarah shows up at 8. Using the spare key I gave her years ago, carrying 2 huge cups of coffee, and the look of someone who knows exactly what mess she'll find. She looks around my room, checks out the damage, and sighs. It's just dinner, she says, handing me a coffee. With my ex's father, I reply, grabbing the coffee like it's saving my life, who I dated for 3 years. And who cheated on you with your sister? Sarah shoots back, starting to pick up clothes from the floor. She stops, looking at me with that gleam in her eyes, the one that comes before her most bold comments. Forget them, focus on you and the hot Italian daddy. Don't call him that. I almost spit out my coffee. My face heating up. Sarah laughs, throwing a navy blue dress at me, but he is. The restaurant is exactly what someone like Marco Ross would choose. Italian, obviously, small and private, with low lighting that creates soft shadows on the brick walls. The kind of place where important talks happen, where deals are made, or romances begin, away from nosy eyes and cameras. Marco is already there when I arrive, sitting at a table in the most private corner, and seeing him makes me stop at the entrance. He's wearing a suit again, but this time without a tie, the first 2 buttons of his shirt open, in a way that should be illegal. His hair is slightly messy, like he just ran his fingers through it, and when he sees me, he stands up. With natural grace that makes my stomach flip. "You came," he says, and there's real relief in his voice. I thought about running away, I admit, because lying to Marco Ross is useless. He sees through everything. He smiles, that small, devastating smile. That's quickly becoming my favorite and most dangerous thing. "And why didn't you run?" "Curiosity," I reply, letting him pull out my chair, a gentleman move that seems so natural to him. I sit down, adjusting the blue dress Sarah picked, and look at him across the table. "And you, honesty," he says, going back to his chair, eyes never leaving mine. I like that. The waiter appears, takes our wine order, and disappears. The silence that stays isn't uncomfortable, but it's charged with something electric. Like the pause before a storm. So Marco begins, leaning back in his chair. Revenge still the plan. I laugh, a sound without humor. Maybe I don't know anymore. I pause, spinning the wine glass between my fingers. "Are you here for revenge on Tom? Because he's an idiot?" "No," the answer comes quick, firm, no hesitation. "I'm here because you're interesting. Interesting how, brave, funny, beautiful," he pauses, leaning slightly forward. And the movement brings that smell. Expensive cologne, mixed with something masculine. That made me dizzy last night. And completely out of my reach. I blink, surprised. "Why? Because you're my son's ex. That's complicated." "Very complicated," I agree, feeling the weight of those words. "And yet," he continues, eyes fixed on mine. "Stealing my breath, I can't stop thinking about you. My heart races, beating so hard I'm sure he can hear it." "I think about you too," I admit, my voice coming out lower, more vulnerable than I want, and I feel guilty. "Wrong, it is wrong." Marco agrees, but doesn't look away, totally. But he leans in a little more, closing the space between us, making the whole restaurant disappear. "It doesn't feel wrong. It doesn't feel wrong." I whisper. The silence between us is thick, loaded with everything we're not saying, with everything we're feeling and can't admit yet. Marco breaks it. His voice determined. "Can we try? See where this goes?" The question is simple, but carries 1,000 complications. "And Tom, your ex-wife, my sister, screw them." He pauses, a guilty look crossing his face fast. "Sorry." "But you deserve happiness, Harper, not guilt. And you," I ask, turning it back on him, "do you deserve it?" I see something change in his face, rare vulnerability appearing, in the lines around his eyes, and how his shoulders drop slightly. "I don't know," he admits, voice low, honest in a way that breaks me a little, "but with you, I want to find out." Dessert arrives, tiramisu that I can barely taste, because Marco started talking, really talking, and I'm mesmerized. "Tell me something about you," I ask, resting my chin on my hand. "Real, not Mafia boss, just you," he sighs. Looking at his wine glass, like searching for courage. "I got divorced 5 years ago. Diana, Tom's mother. She cheated, lied, made me look like a fool for months before I found out. But even so, she never got over me. Since then," he pauses, jaw tightening, "just work, power, business, nothing else until I encourage." My hand moving across the table to touch his. "Until yesterday. He turns his hand, weaving our fingers together. In a way that feels frighteningly right. Seeing you in that red dress, dancing with me, his eyes meet mine. First time in 5 years I've felt anything. The confession completely disarms me. I'm sorry about the divorce. The betrayal, thank you. He squeezes my hand gently. And you, family besides Emma. I sigh, feeling the familiar weight. Of the story I rarely tell. My parents divorced when I was 10. Emma was always the spoiled one, the favorite. I was the responsible one, the good girl, the one who had to keep everything together. I laugh, but it's bitter. And look where it got me to me. Marco says simply, "Is that bad?" "No," I reply. "Honest, it's scary, but not bad." Outside the restaurant, the night is cold, the air carrying that New York smell, asphalt, food, and endless possibilities. Marco stayed behind, paying the bill while I wait on the sidewalk, hugging my own arms against the wind. "Can I take you home?" He appears at my side, placing his jacket over my shoulders before I can say no. The gesture warms me more than the fabric. "Do you drive or have a driver tonight?" He smiles. "I drive." "I want time alone with you." The car is exactly what I expect. Black, expensive, leather interior that smells new. Marco drives with the same confidence he does everything. One hand on the wheel, the other resting on the gear shift. And I find myself watching his profile. Lit by city lights, this is crazy. I whisper, more to myself than him. Agreed, Tom is going to lose it. Probably. Diana is going to hate me. Who's your ex? Marco looks at me briefly. Then back at the road, real humor in his expression. She already hates everyone. Don't take it personally. I laugh, can't help it. You're different than I expected. How so? Funny, kind. I pause. I expected intimidating. He turns to look at me, and even in the darkness of the car, I see the absolute intensity in his eyes. I am intimidating, just not with you. At my apartment door, we stand for a moment that seems to stretch forever. The keys are in my hand, but I can't move. Can't take that final step that ends the night. Thank you. I manage to say, for tonight, thank you for coming, he replies. Then we just stand there, looking at each other. Like awkward teenagers on a first date. Are you going to kiss me? The words come out before I can stop them. Marco smiles, raising his hand to touch my face, fingers tracing my jaw, with gentleness that completely contrasts with the dangerous man the world sees. I want to very much, but not tonight. Why? Because when I kiss you, he says, voice low, rough, loaded with promise. It won't be the end of a first date. It'll be the beginning of everything, and I want to make sure you want that. And if I already want it, he moves closer, so close I feel his breath on my face, his warmth surrounding me completely. Then tomorrow, I repeat, breathless. He takes a step back, and losing contact is physical. Painful. Good night, Harper. I go into my apartment in shock, closing the door, leaning against it, trying to make my heart return to normal. So I jump, hand on my chest, finding Sarah on the couch, with a bowl of popcorn and a smile that says she's been there for hours. He didn't kiss me, I reply. Still processing. Sarah blinks, confused, and that's good. He said when he kisses me, it'll be the beginning of everything. I slide down the door until I'm sitting on the floor, hugging my knees, that he wants to make sure I want this. Holy crap, Sarah whispers, eyes wide, daddy's in love. I laugh, but it comes out strangled, scared. Me too, and that truth, spoken out loud in my quiet apartment, with my best friend looking at me, with equal measures of concern and excitement, is more terrifying than anything Tom or Emma could do, because this started as revenge, but it's quickly becoming something much more real. Chapter 3, The Kiss. I don't regret this. When the intercom buzzes the next day, at 2 in the afternoon. I'm still in my pajamas, sitting on the couch with a mug of cold tea, watching some stupid show on TV. Without really paying attention, my head is somewhere else, stuck on last night, on Marco's words, on the promise of tomorrow. That's now today. I get up slowly, pressing the intercom button, with my heart already racing. for some reason I don't want to admit. Yes, Harper. His voice comes through the speaker, deep and unmistakable. It's me. I look down at my ridiculous flannel pajamas, at my hair that probably looks like a bird's nest, and feel panic rising. You're here now. I am. Can I come up? My apartment is a mess. I'm a mess, but something in his voice, in the expectation it carries, makes me press the button. That unlocks the door without thinking twice. 3 minutes later, after a crazy, useless attempt to fix my hair and change into jeans and a simple shirt, the doorbell rings. I take a deep breath, count to 3, and open the door. Marco is there, casual in a way that should be illegal. Dark jeans, white shirt, sleeves rolled up to his elbows. He smiles when he sees me. That small smile that does strange things to my stomach. Hi, I manage to say. Hi, he replies, then raises his hand, showing a basket I didn't notice. I thought of a picnic. If you're free, I blink, processing. A picnic? Yeah, I know a place. Private, quiet, beautiful. He tilts his head, studying my face. Unless you have other plans. I should have other plans. Should have a life beyond sitting on the couch thinking about him. But the truth is I don't, and even if I did, I'd cancel everything right now. Give me 5 minutes. I say, already turning toward my bedroom, take 10. I hear him say, amused, I'll wait. The park is exactly as he described. Private, hidden behind high gates and ivy, covered walls, the kind of place only people with money and connections know exists. The grass is super green. The trees form a natural roof that filters sunlight into golden patterns. And in the center is a small, perfectly calm lake. Marco spreads a blanket under an old tree, taking things from the basket that look like they're from a movie. French cheeses, grapes, Italian bread, wine that probably costs more than my rent. I sit beside him, trying not to look as impressed as I am. Do you do this often? I ask, picking up a grape. Fancy picnics. Never, he replies, pouring wine into 2 real wine glasses he brought. First time. Why? He looks at me, dark eyes reflecting the light through the leaves. Because you deserve something different. Special. And there it is again. That brutal honesty. That completely disarms me. You're dangerously good at this. I whisper, at what? At saying exactly the right thing. He smiles, handing me the glass. I'm just being honest. We talk for hours, or maybe minutes that feel like hours. Time losing meaning, as he tells stories about Italy. About his childhood in Naples, about how he came to the United States at 20, with nothing but drive and anger. I talk about my abandoned dreams of being a writer, about how I ended up in a job that pays bills, but slowly kills my soul. You can still write, he says, collecting our empty plates. It's too late. It's never too late to start over. He moves closer, removing the space between us on the blanket. I started over at 43. After the divorce, rebuilt everything from scratch. And was it worth it? It's worth it, he says, eyes fixed on mine. With that intensity that steals my breath, especially now, my heart races, beating so hard I'm sure he can hear it. The world around us disappears, the trees, the lake, everything vanishing, until only the 2 of us exist. Marco, I begin, not knowing what I'm going to say, but he doesn't let me finish. His hand comes up, fingers touching my face, with gentleness that contrasts with everything I know about him, tracing the line of my jaw, down my neck, making every nerve in my body come alive. Can I? He asks, voice low. I don't trust my voice? So I just nod, and then he kisses me. It isn't gentle, it isn't hesitant, it's intense, consuming, the kind of kiss that rewrites your definition of everything before. His hand slides to the back of my neck, fingers tangling in my hair, pulling me closer, while the other finds my waist. Firm, possessive, I respond without thinking, without hesitating, my hands moving up his chest until they reach his shoulders. Feeling the tense muscles beneath his shirt, when we separate, both breathless. He presses his forehead to mine. Eyes still closed, worth the wait, I manage to say, my voice coming out thick. He laughs, a low, vibrant sound. Every second, we stay there, tangled in each other, under the tree, and for the first time in days, maybe in years, I feel completely at peace. I don't see who takes the photo. I don't hear the camera click. Don't notice the flash hidden in the trees on the other side of the lake. I'm too busy, lost in Marco, in the warmth of his body, in the way his fingers draw lazy patterns on my back, while we talk about everything and nothing. I only find out the next day, when my phone explodes with notifications, before the sun has even fully risen. The first message is from Sarah, just a link, followed by 3 exclamation points and a skull emoji. I click with shaking fingers, sleep disappearing instantly when the page loads. Mafia boss in forbidden romance with son's ex-girlfriend. The headline screams in bold letters, and below it, 3 photos in sequence. Us arriving at the park, us on the blanket, very close, and the last one, the worst, the exact moment of the kiss, captured in sharp, devastating detail. My stomach turns, the phone rings, making me jump. Tom's name flashes on the screen, loud, furious. I answer before I can think better. Harper. His voice comes out loud, out of control, full of rage I've never heard before. What the hell are you doing with my father, Tom? I saw the photos. Everyone saw. You're dating him. Kissing him. My father. It's none of your business. I reply, feeling my own anger starting to boil. You lost the right to have an opinion about my life when you chose my sister. This is disgusting. You're only doing this to get back at me. No, I say, and realize it's true. It started that way. Maybe, but it's not anymore. I'm doing it because I care about him. Because he treats me better in 3 days than you did in 3 years. The silence on the other end is deafening. Then you're going to regret this. The call cuts off before I can respond. 5 minutes later, Emma calls. I don't answer. She leaves a voicemail anyway, her sweet venomous voice leaking from the speaker. So that's it, Harper. You stole Tom's daddy because you couldn't keep the son. How pathetic. I expected to see you destroyed. Still crying, but no, you're out there happy, with a man old enough to be your father. How disgusting. I delete the message without finishing it, but it's the 3rd call that really scares me. Marco's phone rings. While I'm still holding mine, trembling with rage and adrenaline, he's on the other side of my living room, having come over as soon as the photos leaked, and when he answers, I see his face change, the calm mask falling, to reveal something dangerous. Diana, he says, voice icy. I can't hear what she's saying, but the volume is loud enough for sounds to leak from the phone, furious words tumbling over each other. This is humiliating, with her. Tom's ex, have you completely lost your mind? Diana, Marco tries to interrupt. No, you're going to listen to me. That girl is using you. She's destroying our family, and on top of that, her voice breaks, turning into something more desperate. You replaced me with her, with this woman who isn't even half of what I am. Enough. Marco cuts in, voice hard as steel. Don't talk about her like that. You still love me. I know you do. It was 15 years, Marco. A son. A whole life, and you're going to throw it all away. You threw it away when you cheated on me. This ended 5 years ago. Liar, you never got over me. Just like I never got over you. Come back to me. Forget this child. Rebuild our family. No, the word comes out final, definitive. I love her, Diana, and you need to accept that. The silence that follows is absolute. Then Diana's voice comes back, lower, more dangerous. You're going to regret this. Both of you will. The call ends. Marco stands still for a long moment, still holding the phone, breathing heavy, when he turns to me. I see worry in his eyes. For the first time, this is turning into a mess. I whisper, hugging my own arms. He crosses the room in 3 long steps, pulling me into his arms, with firmness that's simultaneously gentle and possessive. Let it, he says against my hair. I'll protect you from everything, from everyone. I believe him. but as I stand there, safe in his arms, I can't help the shiver running down my spine. Because Diana hadn't spoken like a mother protecting her son. She'd spoken like a woman fighting for the man she loved. And women like that are way more dangerous. The storm is just beginning. Chapter 4, The Viper Strikes, He Is Still Mine. The cafe where I work is one of those cozy places that serves expensive lattes and croissants that cost triple what they should, used by college students and professionals pretending to work while endlessly scrolling through social media. Normally, I like the atmosphere. The smell of roasted coffee, mixed with sweet pastries, the constant hum of conversations I never really have to listen to. But today, 3 days after the photos leaked, every glance seems loaded with judgment, every whisper directed at me. I've become news, gossip, the kind of scandal people love to consume with their morning coffee. I'm cleaning a table near the window when the door opens, bringing a gust of cold air, and the last person I want to see, Diana Ross, walks in, like she owns the place, wearing a camel wool coat that probably costs more than my yearly salary. Her high heels clicking on the wooden floor, with precision that seems calculated to draw attention. Her dark hair pulled into a perfect bun, her face made up with the perfection of someone who has time and money to care about these things. Her eyes find mine across the crowded cafe, and I see something in them. That makes me freeze in place. It isn't just anger. It's contained fury, distilled, the kind of emotion that's been stored for days and is now looking for an outlet. She crosses the cafe directly to me, completely ignoring the other customers, the curious looks, everything except her target, you. The word comes out like poison, low enough not to cause a scene, but loaded with such hatred that I instinctively take a step back. "How dare you, Mrs. Ross," I begin, holding the cleaning cloth like it's some kind of pathetic shield. "You dated my son." She cuts me off, moving one step closer, completely invading my personal space, "and now you seduce my ex-husband." What kind of woman does that? The anger that's been sleeping inside me for the last few days suddenly wakes up. Hot and fierce, I drop the cloth on the table and face her, refusing to back up anymore. "Your son cheated on me with my sister in my bed, so don't talk to me about respect." Something flashes in her eyes, surprise maybe, that I answered back, but it's quickly replaced by more anger. "Tom made a mistake, yes, but this is revenge." It started that way, I admit, because there's no point in lying, but it became real. I care about Marco. "Truly real," she almost laughs, a bitter sound without humor. "You're a child compared to him. 20 years younger. No experience, no understanding of his world. No, he doesn't treat me like a child," I interrupt, keeping my voice steady. Despite my racing heart, Diana stops, studying me with narrowed eyes, and then something changes in her expression. What had been pure anger transforms into something more calculated, more dangerous. She moves closer. So close I can smell the expensive perfume she wears, and when she speaks again, her voice is lower. More intimate, more venomous. "You know what's funny?" she asks, tilting her head slightly. "You think this is about protecting my son. And partly it is, of course. Tom is weak, always has been. Needs his mother for everything. But that's not the only reason I'm here." My stomach tightens, knowing what's coming. Before she even continues, "Marco still loves me," she says. And there's so much certainty in her voice. It almost makes me waver. "He's always loved me. I may have made mistakes. Cheated, lied, but 15 years of marriage don't just disappear like that. He's mine, always was. Always will be." "You're wrong," I manage to say, but my voice comes out less confident than I want. Diana smiles. And it's the cruelest smile I've ever seen. "Am I? Then why hasn't he gotten seriously involved with anyone? In those 5 years, why did he come running whenever I called needing something? Why could he never completely cut me out of his life?" Each question is a stab, because I don't have answers to them. "You're just a temporary distraction, dear." She continues, savoring each word, something new, exciting, forbidden, but when the novelty wears off. When he gets tired of playing with his son's ex, she pauses dramatically, eyes fixed on mine. He comes back to me. Like he always should have stayed. Harper realizes, she whispers, so low I almost don't hear. It's not just about Tom. It's about you. I swallow hard, feeling my legs shake. You still want him, smart, finally. Diana takes a step back, adjusting her coat with deliberately calm gestures. I was married to that man for 15 years. I know every part of him. Every scar, every nightmare, every weakness. You think a few months, with a girl 20 years younger, are going to change that, erase our history. She laughs again. You're naive. Marco chose me, I say. Trying to sound more confident than I feel, for now. She replies with a shrug, but I'm patient. I've already waited 5 years. I can wait a little longer, and when you break, when the weight of his world is too much for your young little shoulders to handle, when you realize you can't compete with 15 years of history, she leans in, whispering near my ear. I'll be there waiting, like I always have been, and then she turns and leaves, heels clicking on the floor, with the same precision as when she entered, leaving me standing there, trembling with equal measures of rage and fear. Marco's office is on the top floor of a glass building in the financial district, the kind of place where serious business happens. And questions aren't asked. Diana knows the way with her eyes closed, has been there hundreds of times during the marriage, and enters without knocking on the dark wooden door, not caring about the secretary who tries to stop her. Marco is behind the desk, looking at documents, but looks up when she enters, his expression immediately closing off. Diana, he says, voice icy, what do you want? Marco, dear, she replies, closing the door behind her and crossing the office with measured steps. It's been so long, alone like this. What do you want? He repeats, each word coming out separate with no room for misunderstanding. Diana sits on the edge of his desk, crossing her legs in a way she knows is attractive, leaning slightly forward. I heard rumors. You with a little girl. Our son's ex, she laughs, a sound intended to be light, but comes out sharp, pathetic. Something changes in Marco's face, his eyes darkening in a way that would have scared anyone with good sense. Careful or what, Diana moves closer, raising her hand to touch his chest through the shirt, feeling the tense muscles beneath her fingers. We had something, Marco. 15 years of marriage, a son, passion, history. Are you really going to throw it all away? For her, Marco grabs her wrist, removing her hand with controlled firmness. You threw it away when you cheated on me. Lied, made me look like a fool for months. A mistake. Diana says quickly, her voice softening, her eyes filling with tears. She has years of practice producing. A mistake I regret every day. Come back to me, Marco. Rebuild our family. Tom needs it. He's lost, confused. Tom is an adult. I need it. She continues, ignoring the interruption. Placing both hands on his chest now, looking up through her lashes. Leave that child. Come home where you belong. To who you belong to. No, the word comes out simple, final. Diana's mask of vulnerability slips, giving way to something harder. Crueler, she can't handle your world, Marco. The danger, the pressure, the enemies, the impossible choices you have to make every day. And me, your ex, wife who still loves you. She pauses, letting the words weigh in the air. She's going to break. And when she breaks, you know who'll be here, me, waiting like I always have been. Marco takes a step back, creating physical distance between them. You underestimate her. We'll see, Diana says, adjusting the purse on her shoulder. Regaining composure, she walks to the door, but stops before opening it, turning to cast one last look. This war is just beginning, Marco, and you know I've always been great at long wars. The door closes behind her. With a soft click, leaving Marco alone in his office, hands resting on the desk and jaw tense. The family dinner hadn't been my idea. My mother insisted, saying it had been months since we'd all gotten together, that family was important. That we needed to talk. I agreed, mainly because I knew postponing would only make things worse. And now I'm sitting at the dinner table. In the house where I grew up, with parents on both sides and Emma across from me, smiling like a cat that swallowed a canary. "So, Harper," Emma begins, delicately cutting chicken on her plate, voice sweet as poisoned honey, "I heard you're dating someone." I feel all eyes at the table turn to me. "None of your business, but it is," she insists, dropping her silverware and leaning forward with false interest. "Because the someone is Tom's father. His father," she laughs. Too loud, too forced. "That's sad." Harper desperate even. "What?" My mother drops her fork on the plate. With a loud noise, "Harper, are you dating Marco Ross?" "I am," I reply, keeping my voice steady, despite my racing heart. "For revenge?" Emma practically screams, eyes shining with barely disguised meanness. "Because I got Tom." "Admit it, it started that way," I admit, looking directly at her. "But it's not anymore. I love him." The silence that falls over the table is absolute. My father is the first to speak, his voice loaded with genuine concern. That makes me feel 11 again. "Harper, sweetheart, this man is dangerous, mafia, illegal business, violence. Are you sure about this?" "I am," I reply, turning to him, more sure than I ever was about Tom. Emma slams her hands on the table, making the plates jump until he gets tired of you. "Men like that get tired, Harper. You'll see, you'll be replaced by someone younger, prettier, more, at least he's my age," I shout, finally losing it, "and you have my lack of character." Emma shouts back. I get up from the table so fast, my chair almost falls. "You know what's funny, Emma? You always had everything. Always were the favorite, the spoiled one, the one who got everything handed to her. And even so, it wasn't enough. You had to take what was mine, just to prove you could. But guess what? You got Tom, congratulations. You got a weak, manipulated man, who will never love you, as much as he loves his mother's approval. I hope you're very happy together." I leave before anyone can respond, grabbing my purse from the living room couch. And walking out, leaving behind the dinner, the family, everything. Marco's house is everything I expected. Large, modern, minimalist in a way that screams money, but with personal touches here and there that make it a home. Not just a property when Tom shows up without warning. Jack, the security guard at the door, tries to stop him. But Marco waves that it's fine, Dad. Tom enters the room like a hurricane, face red with anger. "We need to talk." Marco is sitting in a leather armchair, a glass of whiskey in his hand, and barely looks up. "So talk." "Harper," Tom starts pacing back and forth, gesturing wildly, seriously. "You're dating Harper. I am. This is disgusting." "Sick, she was mine." Marco finally looks up, and the temperature in the room seems to drop several degrees. "And you lost her when you chose to cheat. Your choice, your consequences, but you're my father," Tom shouts, his voice breaking. "There's a code, there are rules about this." "Code?" Marco stands up slowly, placing the glass on the table. "With deliberate care, you cheated on the woman you dated for 3 years with her sister in her bed. And you're going to talk to me about code? I made a mistake and I make a choice," Marco replies, approaching his son with measured steps. "Harper, end of conversation. She's using you." Tom unconsciously backs up to get back at me for revenge. "Don't you see that?" Marco stops a few inches from his son, and Tom has to lift his chin to meet his father's eyes. When Marco speaks, his voice is low, dangerous, loaded with threat. That doesn't need to be made explicit. "Careful, Tom, very careful what you say next." Tom opens his mouth, closes it, and then the words come out in a desperate rush. "You're going to regret this. Mom won't accept it either. She still loves you, you know that. Your mother made her choices. 5 years ago, when she decided to cheat on me," Marco says, each word coming out heavy. "Now I make my choices. And I choose Harper. She's destroying our family, the only thing I regret," Marco says, and there's genuine sadness in his voice now, mixed with disappointment. Is raising such a weak son. Tom's face loses all color. For a moment, he just stands there, mouth open, eyes wide, with the wound caused by his father's words. Then he turns and leaves, almost running, slamming the door hard enough to make the pictures on the walls shake. Marco returns to the armchair. picks up the whiskey again and takes a long sip. Jack appears at the door. "Boss, I'm fine," Marco replies. But his voice says otherwise. Later that night, I'm in my apartment, still processing the disaster. That was the family dinner. When my phone vibrates, a message from Marco. "Can you come here? I need to see you." I don't hesitate. When I arrive at his house 20 minutes later, Jack lets me in without questions. I find Marco on the terrace, looking at the lit city below, hands in his pockets, shoulders tense. "Hi." I say softly. Approaching, he turns, and when he sees me, something in his face softens. "Hi." He pulls me into his arms. Burying his face in my hair. "How was dinner?" "Horrible, I admit." Wrapping my arms around his waist, Emma provoked. I exploded, left slamming the door. "And you, Tom was here." "Also horrible." We stand there for a long moment, just holding each other, finding comfort in one another, while the world around us seems determined to tear us apart. "They're not going to give up." I whisper against his chest. "I know," he replies, kissing the top of my head. "But neither are we," and there, under the stars, with the city glowing below, and the weight of the world on our shoulders. I believe him, even knowing the storm is just beginning. Even knowing that Diana, Tom, Emma, all of them are preparing for war. Even knowing the worst is still to come, because being with Marco, even in the middle of chaos, feels more right than anything I've felt before, and that has to mean something. It has to mean everything. Chapter 5, Hard Choices. I Choose You. The box arrives on a Monday, wrapped in silver paper with a black satin bow. There's no return address, but I don't need one to know who it's from. Inside, an expensive pearl necklace, and a card with elegant handwriting. He always comes back to me, always has. It's the third one in 2 weeks. The first had been a book about age gap relationships, passages underlined about how they rarely work. The second, a photo of Diana and Marco from their wedding. Radiant with a simple note, 15 years. I throw the box on the table and back away like it's burning. My phone vibrates. Emma has tagged me in a post, smiling next to Tom at some fancy restaurant. The caption, a barely disguised stab. "Worried about my sister, who is clearly going through a difficult time. We hope she finds someone her own age soon." The comments are cruel. Gold digger, home wrecker, desperate. I block Emma again. She always creates new accounts. The last straw comes 3 days later, when Diana shows up at the charity event I'm organizing for work. She walks in wearing a red dress, identical to the one I wore the night I met Marco, and spends the evening circulating, smiling, dropping poisonous comments. "Marco has always been so generous," she says loud enough for me to hear. Even now, with this strange phase he's going through, he's still the man I met and loved. You know how it is. Men of a certain age sometimes need to feel young again, but it always passes, always returns to what's real, to what has history. I leave the event before it ends, unable to stand another second of that poisonous smile. I go straight to Marco's apartment, using the key he gave me last week. He's in the office working. Even though it's almost midnight, and looks up when I enter, his face immediately filling with concern. "Harper, what happened?" I let my purse fall to the floor and let it all out. The boxes, the notes, Emma's posts. The rumors, Diana at the event, every poisonous comment, every judgmental look. Maybe it's better to stop. The words come out before I can stop them, before it gets worse, before someone really gets hurt. Marco stands up slowly, rounding the desk until he's standing in front of me. "Do you want to stop?" I want to say yes, that it's easier, safer, but it's not true. "No," I admit, feeling hot tears slide down my face. "But your ex-wife, your son, my sister, the whole world seems to be against us. They're not more important than you," he says, raising his hands to dry my tears with his thumbs. "Not Diana, not Tom, not the opinion of strangers. Nothing is more important than you." "How can you be so sure?" He pulls me to the couch, sitting beside me, but keeping my hands in his. "I spent 5 years alone, Harper. 5 empty years, just work, power, Endless business. Diana destroyed our marriage, but never left me alone. Always calling, always creating excuses to show up, always using Tom to manipulate me into coming back. And I never went back, never wanted to, but I also never managed to really move forward. He squeezes my hands. Until you brought me back to life, Harper. I'm not going to lose this. I'm not going to lose you. The tears come back, but this time they aren't from fear. I love you, I whisper. I love you more, he replies. And then kisses me. It's different from the other kisses. It doesn't have urgency. It has promise. It has future. Stay with me tonight, he says when we separate. I don't want you to go back alone. Okay, I agree, because I don't want to be anywhere else. Marco's bedroom is exactly as I imagine. Minimalist, elegant, with floor-to-ceiling windows that offer a stunning view of the city. He lends me one of his shirts to sleep in, and when I come back from the bathroom, I find him standing near the window. You're beautiful, he says simply. I cross the room to him, my heart racing. Should I stay? If you want to. I want to. He takes my hand and guides me to the bed. What happens next is slow, careful, full of tenderness that surprises me. Each touch is deliberate, each kiss loaded with emotion, as if he's memorizing every moment, and when we finally become one. It isn't just physical, it's emotional, a connection so deep, it makes me forget everything except that moment. Except the two of us, afterward, lying in his arms with my head on his chest, listening to the rhythm of his heart beating beneath my ear. I feel peace I haven't experienced in years. No regrets, he asks quietly. Fingers drawing patterns on my back. None, I reply. And you, never. You're the best choice I've ever made. But while we sleep, elsewhere in the city, Diana is making choices of her own, sitting in her perfect living room. A glass of wine in her hand, she dials a number. She hasn't called in years. The man who answers has a rough, dangerous voice. Carlos, Diana says, voice smooth but loaded with venom. We need to talk about Marco Ross and a little problem he's having. On the other end of the line, Carlos Martinez, Marco's longtime rival, in the city's shadier business, smiles. I'm listening. His little girlfriend, Harper Brennan, leaves work every day at 6. Cafe on Sullivan Street. Always alone, always unprotected. Marco still hasn't put security on her. The fool is too confident. Diana takes a sip of wine. I imagine it would be very convenient if something happened to her, nothing permanent. Of course, just enough for him to realize, this ridiculous relationship only brings problems, and what do I get out of this? Information about his next moves, transport roads, contact names, everything you need to finally overcome the Ross empire. Carlos is silent for a moment, considering. Tomorrow at 6. You said, tomorrow at 6. Tom is also making moves of his own. Sitting in the apartment he now shares with Emma. You should call, Emma says from the couch, painting her nails. Try again. Say you miss her, that you still love her, but I don't, doesn't matter. Emma cuts him off. What matters is making her doubt him. Your mother is right. We need to destroy this before it gets too serious. Tom looks at his phone for a long moment, and then types, checking in on you. Hope you're well and safe. I know my dad can be complicated. If you need me, I'm here. The message is delivered. Read. No response comes. The next day, I leave work at exactly 6, like always. The sun is already setting, painting the sky orange and pink. And the street is busy, with people heading home. I grab my phone to call Marco, smiling as I think about last night, when something makes me stop. A black van has parked in front of the cafe, side door open, engine running. Before I can process what's happening, 2 men come from behind me. A cloth is pressed against my face. Chemical smell invading my nose. I try to scream, fight, but my limbs are already heavy, the world starting to spin. I feel my body being dragged, hear distant voices. Quick before someone sees. Diana said no marks. The boss wants her intact. Marco Ross is going to pay dearly for this. I try to reach for my phone, but it falls to the sidewalk. With a dull thud, The last thing I see, before everything goes dark, is the pink sky above, beautiful and indifferent. To my terror, and then nothing, half an hour later, Marco calls my phone once, twice, 3 times. Straight to voicemail. He frowns, something tightening in his chest. Harper always answers, always. He calls Jack. Go pick up Harper from work. Now, boss, I thought she was going straight home today. Now, Jack, 20 minutes later, Jack calls back, voice tense. Boss, her phone is on the sidewalk, screen broken. Purse is gone and there are witnesses, saying they saw a black van, 2 men, her being dragged. The silence on the other end is absolute. Then Marco speaks and his voice is so cold that Jack shivers. Find her, mobilize everyone, burn the city if you have to. I want every informant, every contact, every security camera in the area searched. And Jack, yes, boss. Find out who did this, because when I find them, he doesn't finish the sentence. He doesn't need to. The meaning is clear. There will be blood, chapter 6. When everything falls apart, he will come. I wake up with a pounding headache, and my mouth dry as a desert. The smell is what hits me first, a mixture of mold, rusted metal, and something chemical. That makes my stomach turn. I try to move, and realize my hands are tied behind my back, wrists already aching. From the rough rope cutting into my skin, the room around me is dark, lit only by a weak bulb hanging from the ceiling. That sways slightly, creating dancing shadows on the concrete walls. An abandoned warehouse maybe. Or a basement, the kind of place where screams wouldn't be heard. I try not to panic, breathing deeply through my nose, forcing my brain, still foggy from the sedative, to think, to process, to find a way out. But the fear is there. Crawling up my spine, tightening my throat, the metal door creaks open, and a man enters, tall, gray-haired, with a deep scar running from his left eye to his chin. He studies me with cold, calculating eyes, like I'm merchandise. Not a person, finally awake, he says, voice rough from too much smoking. Thought my men gave you too much? Who are you? I managed to ask, my own voice coming out hoarse. What do you want from me? He smiles, but there's no humor in that gesture. Only cruelty, Carlos Martinez, and you, dear Harper, are the tool I'm going to use to destroy Marco Ross once and for all. My stomach sinks. Marco will kill you when he finds out, if he finds out where you are. Carlos approaches, crouching in front of me, so close I can smell cigarettes on his breath, and even if he does, it'll be too late. I'm going to use you to lure him in, make him make mistakes, destroy everything he's built, and when I'm done with him, well, he runs a cold finger down my cheek, making me shudder. Maybe I'll keep you as a prize, I spit in his face. Carlos freezes for a second, surprised by the boldness, and then his hand flies, connecting with my cheek. In a slap that makes my head spin, the taste of blood fills my mouth. Brave, he says, wiping the spit from his face. With a handkerchief, I see why Marco was interested. But that courage will end. It always does. He stands up and leaves, leaving me alone again, in the darkness, with my cheek burning and my heart racing with pure terror. Across town, Marco's office has transformed into a war operations center, maps scattered across the desk, computers open, showing security camera feeds, phones ringing constantly, as informants from across the city report any information, however small. Jack has never seen the boss like this. Marco has always been controlled, calculating, the kind of man who plans 10 steps ahead before making any move. But now there's something wild in his eyes, something primitive and dangerous that makes even the most loyal men instinctively back away. Nothing yet. Marco asks, for the 10th time in 5 minutes, voice tense as a rope, about to snap. Boss, we're tracking all black vans. Registered in the area, checking traffic cameras, pressing our contacts on the streets. Jack begins. It's not enough. Marco slams his hand on the desk, so hard that one of the computers jumps. She's out there alone, scared, possibly hurt, and I have no idea where. We'll find her. Jack says, trying to sound confident. I'll burn this city if I have to, Marco says, and it's not an empty threat. It's a promise every building. Every hideout, every rat hole where those bastards could be hiding her. I'll turn everything upside down. Until his phone rings. Unknown number. Marco answers, putting it on speaker. Who is this? Hello, Marco? Carlos Martinez's voice comes through, full of cruel satisfaction, looking for something, or rather, someone. Everyone in the office freezes. Carlos, Marco says, each letter pronounced with absolute venom. If you touched her, oh, but I already did. Carlos laughs, right here in front of me, all tied up, with that scared look, but still trying to be brave. I must admit, you have good taste. Shame that soon she'll be too broken to be interesting. Marco's hand grips the phone. So hard the screen cracks. What do you want? Your surrender, your territories, your contacts, everything. In exchange, I'll consider returning the girl, in not too many pieces. Where is she? Marco ignores the demands. In a place you'll never find in time, but don't worry. I'll take good care of her while you decide. If pride is worth more than your girlfriend's life, the call ends. The silence in the office is absolute. For 3 seconds, then another phone rings. One of Marco's men answers, listens for a moment, and then turns with urgency. Boss, we traced the signal, and there's more. One of our informants saw the van. Abandoned warehouse in the port area. Property registered under a shell company name, but old records show connection to the Martinez family. Marco is already moving toward the door, grabbing the gun from the holster under the desk. How many men do we have available? 20, armed and ready. Mobilize all of them, now. Boss. Jack follows behind him, voice loaded with concern. What if it's a trap? Carlos might be expecting exactly this. Marco stops, turns, and Jack sees something in his eyes. That makes his blood run cold. Then let it be a trap. I'm going in anyway because she's there, Jack. And I'd rather die getting her out than live knowing I didn't try. But while Marco mobilizes his private army, preparing for a war that could cost everything, a discovery is being made. One of Marco's computer technicians, combing through phone records, searching for any clue, finds something that makes his heart stop. A call from a number, registered in Diana Ross's name, to a number that, after investigation, turns out to be Carlos Martinez's. Made 2 days before the kidnapping, duration 8 minutes, the tech runs to Jack, showing him the screen. Jack looks, rereads it 3 times to be sure, and then feels nausea rising. My God, he whispers. He runs to Marco, who's already in the car, about to leave. Boss, you need to see this. Marco looks at the screen. Jack shows him. Sees the name, sees the numbers, sees the undeniable connection. His face doesn't change, but Jack sees something die in his eyes. Diana, Marco says, voice coming out dead, hollow. My son's mother betrayed me again. Boss, later. Marco cuts him off. First, Harper, then I deal with Diana. The rescue is quick, brutal, and efficient. Marco and his men storm the warehouse. With the precision of a military operation, there are gunshots, screams, the sound of bones breaking, and men falling. Carlos tries to use me as a shield, a gun pressed against my temple, but Marco doesn't hesitate. A single shot, precise, fatal. Carlos falls, eyes still wide with surprise, and then Marco is there, cutting the ropes from my wrists, pulling me into his arms with urgency that borders on desperation. Harper, look at me. Are you okay? Hurt? What did they do to you? I'm fine, I managed to say, even though I'm trembling violently. I'm fine now. He carries me out, refusing to let me go, even when the paramedics try to examine me. And only at the hospital, when the doctors insist, does he finally let me go. I wake up in a private hospital room. Soft morning light filtering through the curtains. Marco is sitting beside me, holding my hand, eyes red from a sleepless night. Hi, I whisper. Hi, he replies, bringing my hand to his lips and kissing it gently. How do you feel? Sore, scared, but alive. Never again, he says, voice loaded with a promise that sounds almost like a threat. Never again does anyone touch you. Never again are you without protection. Never again, Marco, I begin. But the words stick in my throat. Diana did this, didn't she? He closes his eyes, pain crossing his face. Yes, she passed information to Carlos about you, your routine, when you'd be vulnerable, out of sick jealousy. Because she never got over me moving on, never accepted that I chose you. Where is she? In custody. Complicity in kidnapping. And when I'm done testifying against her, she'll be in prison for a long time. But before everything settles down, Marco has one last thing to do. Diana is in an interrogation room. When he enters, still wearing the expensive dress from when she was arrested, but makeup smudged and eyes red from crying. Marco, she begins, standing up. Please, you have to understand. You touched her. Marco cuts her off. Voice so cold that Diana backs away. You used our son for your manipulations. You made a deal with my worst enemy. It's over. I loved you. Diana screams, tears running down her face. I still love you. She doesn't deserve you. Doesn't understand you like I do. Doesn't have our history, and I love her, Marco replies, each word coming out firm. Final, not you, never you again. That's the difference. You chose me once, Diana says, voice breaking. Married me, had a child with me, built a life with me, and you threw it all away when you cheated on me. Marco interrupts. Now you pay the price. You're nothing to me anymore, Diana. Just Tom's mother, nothing more than that. And when this is all over, when you get out of prison, I never want to see you again. He turns to leave. Marco, please, Diana begs, but he doesn't stop, doesn't look back. The door closes behind him, final as a coffin. 3 days later, still in the hospital, I receive an unexpected visitor, Tom. He enters hesitantly. Looking smaller somehow, shoulders curved under the weight of everything that happened. Harper, he begins. I didn't know about my mother, about the plan, about anything. You have to believe me. I look at him. This man I once thought I loved and feel only emptiness. I believe you, Tom, but it doesn't matter anymore. He nods, tears threatening to fall. She's in jail. My mother is in jail because of you, and I because of herself. I correct gently because of her choices. He stands there for another moment and then left, shoulders shaking. With silent sobs, Marco enters seconds later, having waited outside. Are you okay? He asks. Yes, I reply, extending my hand to him, especially now that you're here. He takes my hand, weaving our fingers together, and for the first time in days, smiles, but neither of us know that Diana from prison still has one last card to play. And that card would involve manipulating her son one last time. Chapter 7, The Mother and the Ultimatum. I will not choose guilt. The state women's prison isn't the kind of place Diana Ross ever imagined knowing from the inside. The gray walls, the smell of cheap disinfectant, mixed with despair, the orange uniforms that erase any trace of who you were. All of it is an insult to the woman who once commanded elegant dining rooms and charity galas, but the worst part isn't the environment. It's the silence of the phone that rarely rings, the absence of visits she desperately hoped for, the emptiness of knowing that the man she still loves has moved on so completely that not even her imprisonment has awakened anything in him beyond cold indifference when Tom finally shows up, 2 weeks after her detention. Diana almost collapses with relief. They sit on opposite sides of the metal table in the visiting room, separated by a distance that seems more emotional than physical. Tom has deep dark circles, his face pale, shoulders curved under the weight of everything that crumbled around him. Mom, he begins, voice thick. How could you? Diana extends her hands across the table, trying to reach his, but he instinctively pulls back. The rejection hurts more than anything the lawyers or prosecutors have said. Son, you need to understand. She begins, voice urgent, desperate. I did this for us, to stop that woman from destroying our family. Your father doesn't love you anymore because of her. Don't you see? Harper poisoned him against us. Against everything we built together, you paid criminals to kidnap her. Tom explodes, slamming his hands on the table. She could have died. How was that for us? Because he needed a reality check, Diana insists, leaning forward. With feverish intensity, your father needed to see that this ridiculous relationship only brings danger. Chaos, destruction. I was saving him from himself. Liam shakes his head, incredulous. You're crazy. You've really lost your mind. No. Diana grabs the edges of the table, knuckles turning white. I'm clear-headed. For the first time in years. Tom, listen. There's still time. You can fix this. How? He asks, exhausted. Diana leans closer, lowering her voice, as if sharing a precious secret. Give him an ultimatum. Go to your father and tell him he needs to choose his family, his son, everything you've built together over 30 years. Or this girl he's known for months. Make him choose, Tom. Make him see. He's throwing everything away. Mom, he already chose. He chose her because you didn't press hard enough. Diana practically screams, making the guards look in their direction. She forces herself to lower her voice again. You're his son, Tom. His blood, that has to mean something. Make him choose, officially, publicly, either us or her. And when he realizes what he's losing, what if he chooses her anyway? Tom asks, voice small, vulnerable. Diana is silent for a moment, and then her face hardens. Then at least you know where you stand. At least the mask falls completely, and you can move on, knowing you did everything you could. Tom looks at his mother for a long moment, seeing for the first time, not the elegant, powerful woman who raised him, but someone broken, desperate, clinging to any hope, however toxic, but he's weak, always has been. And a lifetime of manipulation doesn't undo itself in a few weeks. Okay, he says finally, hating himself for agreeing. I'll try. Marco's house is quiet when Tom arrives unannounced. 2 days later, Jack lets him in reluctantly, having received orders from the boss that Tom is still his son and therefore has access, even after everything that happened. Marco is in the living room, reading documents, and looks up when Tom enters. There's no warmth in the look, but there also isn't the absolute coldness that Diana received. Tom, Marco says, putting the papers aside. Wasn't expecting you, Dad, Tom begins, standing awkwardly in the middle of the room, hands in his pockets. We need to talk, for real this time. Marco gestures to the couch, so sit. Tom sits on the edge, as if ready to flee at any moment. For a long moment, the silence between them is thick, loaded with everything that hasn't been said. With everything that's been broken, and maybe can't be fixed. I visited Mom, Tom says finally. Figured you would. She's destroyed, Dad. Completely broken, and I know what she did was terrible. Unforgivable even, but she's my mother. And you, he stops, swallowing hard. You're my father, and I feel like I'm losing both of you. Marco sighs, running his hand over his face. Tom, your mother made choices. Choices that have consequences. I can't, please. Tom interrupts, and there are tears in his eyes now. Please, Dad, choose us. Choose your family, Harper. She'll understand. She can find someone else. But I only have one father. We only have one family. Harper isn't replaceable. Marco says, voice getting harder. And I am, Tom asks, voice breaking. 30 years, Dad. 30 years of us being family. Isn't that worth more than a few months with a woman you barely know? Marco stands up, walking to the window, looking at the city below when he speaks. His voice is tired but firm. I choose Harper. The 3 words fall between them. Like bombs, so it's true, Tom says, standing up too, hands trembling. Mom was right. You don't love us anymore. She destroyed our family, and you let her. No. Marco turns, facing his son. I love you as my son. I always will. But I won't sacrifice my love, my happiness, my chance to finally have something real, for your mother's manipulation. But we're your family. Diana made choices when she cheated on me. You made choices when you cheated on Harper with her sister, and now I make my choices. Marco crosses his arms, posture defensive but firm. I choose not to live in the past. I choose not to let guilt or obligation dictate my life. I choose Harper because she makes me happy. In a way I'd forgotten was possible. What if I say it's her or me? Tom throws out the ultimatum, exactly as Diana instructed. If I say that while you're with her, I don't want contact, don't want a relationship, Marco is silent for a long moment. And Tom sees pain cross his father's face, real and deep, but when Marco speaks, his voice doesn't waver. Then I'll respect your choice and hope that one day you mature enough to realize that love isn't a zero-sum game, that I can love her and still love you, but I won't choose between you and her the way you want, Tom. Because what you're asking for isn't love, it's control. Tom stands there, processing, and then the tears finally fall. I lost you, no. Marco takes a step toward his son, voice softening. You didn't lose me, but you need to accept that you can't have me the way your mother wants when you're ready to have a real relationship based on mutual respect. And not manipulation. I'll be here, but Tom is already leaving, unable to hear more, unable to accept that the ultimatum failed so completely. The door closes behind him, and Marco stands alone in the quiet room. Heartbroken, but conscience clear, Emma is giving an interview when Sarah calls me, furious, turn on the TV. Channel 7. Now I turn it on, and there she is. My sister, wearing a conservative dress and makeup that makes her look innocent. Vulnerable, talking to a reporter with a perfectly rehearsed expression of sisterly concern. Look, I love my sister. Emma is saying, voice soft but loaded with disguised venom, but I'm genuinely worried about her. This relationship with Marco Ross started as revenge against me and Tom, and now it's escalated into something dangerous, kidnappings, arrests, violence. Harper set all this up as part of an elaborate revenge plan, and now she can't get out. That Sarah begins on the phone, but I'm already hanging up, already grabbing my purse, already heading out the door. I find Emma leaving the TV studio, 20 minutes later, still being followed by cameras, still smiling that sweet fake smile. Emma, I shout, crossing the parking lot in long strides. She turns, and for a second, I see genuine fear in her eyes. But then the mask returns, along with the cameras, that immediately focus on the two of us. Harper, she says, voice loud enough for the microphones to pick up. I'm glad you're okay. I was so worried. Say it to my face. I interrupt, stopping right in front of her, not caring about the cameras, about the reporters. Approaching like vultures, no cameras, no audience, just you and me. Say I set everything up. Her smile falters. Harper, I don't understand. You stole him, I shout, and I see satisfaction flash in her eyes. Admit it. You took Tom, not because you wanted him, but because he was mine, and you took his father for the same reason. Emma shouts back, the mask finally falling. You stole Marco from me. Marco was never yours, but you only looked at him. After I took Tom, Emma is crying now, real tears of rage and envy. You always had everything, Harper. Always were the responsible one, the good girl, the one everyone admired, and me. I was just the little sister. The spoiled one, the one who was never taken seriously. So yes, I took Tom, and yes, I wanted to destroy you and Marco. Because for the first time, I wanted you to feel what I've always felt. The silence that falls is absolute. Even the reporters go quiet. You know what's funny, Emma? I ask, my voice coming out calm now, almost pitying. You stole my dignity, my trust, my relationship, but I just found something better, found someone who loves me for real. Not because I'm a trophy or revenge, but because I'm me, and you ended up with a man who will never love you. As much as he loves his mother's approval, so who really lost here? I turn and leave, leaving Emma standing in the middle of the parking lot, surrounded by cameras that capture every second of her breakdown. 6 months later, things finally start to calm down. Diana from prison had tried something desperate and terrible. The guards found her on the cell floor, wrists cut with a piece of metal. No one figured out how she got. She survived, but barely, and after that, was transferred to a psychiatric wing, where finally, she began mandatory therapy. The psychiatrist's reports that Marco eventually received painted a picture of a woman who lost her identity when she lost the marriage, who had built all her self-worth on being Marco Ross's wife. And when that was taken from her, simply fell apart. Tom and Emma got married in a small, sad ceremony. None of us were invited. We didn't expect to be, but Sarah, Jack, Marco's friends, my co-workers who remained loyal, they all formed something new, a chosen family, built not on blood or obligation, but on genuine love and conscious choice, and me and Marco, against the world, but together, always together. Chapter 8, Rebuilding. Will You Marry Me? Yes, 6 months later, Italy welcomes me, like a warm, necessary embrace. Marco's villa is in Tuscany, hidden among hills, covered with vineyards that stretch as far as the eye can see, with cypress trees. Lined along the dirt road that leads to the property, the house itself is a masterpiece of ancient stone and careful restoration, with arched windows that capture the golden afternoon light, and a terrace that offers breathtaking views of the valley below. It's so different from New York that for the first few days, I simply walk through the rooms trying to believe it's real, that I'm actually here, away from the chaos, the violence, the judgmental looks, and sensationalist headlines. Marco has semi-retired, passing his shadier business to trusted men and focusing only on the legitimate ventures he'd always maintained as a front, but that are now becoming his main reality. He still works, but at human hours, without the constant tension of always looking over his shoulder. And me, I discovered something I didn't even know I'd lost. In the room Marco converted into a studio for me. With perfect natural light and a view of the vineyards, I paint. I hadn't picked up a brush since college, when I gave up artistic dreams in favor of financial stability. But here, with time and peace, and Marco's constant encouragement, the passion returned like a flood. My parents visited last month, finally, after months of tense conversations and gradual reconciliations. My mother cried when she saw the villa, when she saw how Marco looked at me, when she realized her daughter was genuinely happy, in a way she never was with Tom. "I'm sorry," she'd said on the last night of the visit, holding my hands on the terrace while we watched the sunset, "for not supporting you before, for letting Emma do what she did, for judging without understanding." "It's okay, Mom," I'd replied, and it was true. Forgiveness had come easier than expected. Maybe because current happiness made past grudges less important. As for Diana, the reports that come through Marco's lawyers paint a picture of slow but real transformation. The mandatory therapy in the psychiatric wing had become voluntary, and she was, from what it seemed, finally confronting the demons that had consumed her for years. Her relationship with Tom is improving, mother and son, rebuilding something healthier than the toxic codependency that existed before, but her and Marco, just cordial when absolutely necessary, because of their son. Nothing more, and both seemed finally at peace with that. Tom and Emma had gotten married, as Sarah informed me, through scandalized messages, accompanied by photos someone posted on social media. The ceremony looked as empty as the relationship, forced smiles and eyes that don't meet with true joy. I don't feel anger anymore, just a kind of distant pity. It's an October afternoon when it happens. The sun is setting over the vineyards, painting the sky in shades of orange, pink, and purple that look like they're from a Renaissance painting. I'm on the terrace cleaning brushes after a productive session in the studio when I hear footsteps behind me. Marco's voice makes me turn. Yes, he's standing there wearing jeans and a white linen shirt, with the sleeves rolled up, hair slightly messed by the wind, and there's something different in his expression. Nervousness maybe, mixed with determination I know well, and then he kneels down. My heart stops, hands flying to cover my mouth. As tears instantly fill my eyes, "You came into my life for revenge," he begins, voice thick with emotion. "But you gave me everything, love, a reason to wake up in the morning, real life, after years of just existing." He opens a small velvet box, revealing a ring that catches the light of the sunset and reflects it in 1,000 directions. "Marry me." Tears are already streaming down my face. "Are you sure? Everything we went through, Diana." "Tom, all the chaos, the age difference, the people who will always judge. That's why I'm sure," he interrupts, taking my hand with his free one. "Because we faced the world and won, together. Because we already went through the worst, and came out the other side stronger. Because I love you, in a way I never thought possible. So yes, Harper, I'm sure, more sure than I've ever been, of anything in my life. Yes," I managed to say through sobs. "Yes, 1,000 times yes." He slides the ring onto my finger, stands up, and pulls me into his arms, kissing me as the sun sets behind us, bathing everything in golden light. 1 year later, we get married at the same villa, under an arch of white flowers, overlooking the vineyards we now know so well. It's a small ceremony. Only 20 people, but each one of them means something. Sarah is at my side as maid of honor, wearing a turquoise blue dress. She chose specifically because she knew I'd hate being the only one wearing white. Jack is beside Marco, as best man, trying to hide tears behind sunglasses, even though there isn't sun bright enough to justify them. My parents are in the front row, my mother crying openly, my father smiling with pride, some friends from New York who remained loyal, co-workers who became family, members of Marco's team who became family. Diana isn't present. But on the morning of the wedding, a letter arrived. Marco read it first, face carefully neutral, and then passed it to me. The handwriting was the same elegant script from the poisonous notes of the past, but the words were completely different. "Marco and Harper, I don't expect forgiveness. I don't deserve it. But I want you to know that through therapy, through months of painful work, confronting who I became, I finally understood. I never let go. I held so tight to something that was already dead, that I poisoned everything around me, including my son, including myself. I'm sorry for everything, for the manipulation, for the violence, for refusing to accept that you deserve to be happy. Marco and Harper, I'm sorry for seeing you as an enemy when you were just a woman in love, trying to find happiness. I finally understood that I need to let go, and I'm letting go. Be happy. You deserve it, with respect and finally peace. Diana." I carefully folded the letter and set it aside. It was closure I didn't know I needed. Tom and Emma weren't invited. The truth was, I didn't even think about them much anymore. They were part of a chapter of my life that was completely closed, without resentment, but also without desire to revisit. When it's time for the vows, we stand facing each other. Under the arch of flowers, hands intertwined, and the rest of the world disappears. "Marco," I begin, my voice trembling only slightly. "You were revenge that became love, chaos that became peace, wrong that became right. In ways I never imagined, I promise to love you beyond age, beyond history, beyond everything the world says we should or shouldn't be. I promise to choose you every day, the same way you chose me when it was easier to give up." Marco squeezes my hands, eyes shining. "Harper, you saved me from loneliness, from emptiness I didn't even realize was consuming me, from an ex-wife who never left me alone because I allowed it, because it was easier than confronting. You taught me that love isn't obligation or history, but daily choice. I promise every day to prove it's worth choosing love over expectations, passion over convenience, you over everything and everyone, when the efficient declares us husband and wife. The kiss we share is witnessed by applause and whistles, Sarah shouting finally, loud enough to make everyone laugh. Later that night, after the guests have left and the villa is quiet again, Marco and I stand on the terrace. Under a sky full of stars. "Do you regret it?" I ask, leaning against his chest, his tuxedo shirt already unbuttoned. My wedding dress traded for something more comfortable, choosing me over Tom, over making peace with Diana, over all the pain it caused. Never, he replies without hesitation, kissing the top of my head. You're my family now, Harper. My love, my life, my future, there's no regret in that. And Tom, Diana, do they finally accept it? Marco is silent for a moment, thinking Diana is in therapy, getting better, dealing with her demons. Tom still has a journey ahead, still needs to grow, learn that manipulation isn't love. But you know what? He turns me in his arms. So we can look at each other. I don't care about their approval anymore. I don't live waiting for Diana to finally leave me alone, or for Tom to mature. I only care about this. He pulls me closer, sealing the space between us, you and me. Always, always, I repeat, and then kiss him under the stars, in our villa, in our new life, as I stand there. Safe in his arms, my mind briefly goes back to where it all began. My sister hooked up with my ex. So I fell in love with his father, who was also the ex-husband of my ex's mother, who hated me for double reasons. For being her son's girlfriend, and for stealing the man she still loved. And yes, everything fell apart violently, publicly, in ways that left scars that are still healing. But from the rubble, we built something better, stronger, more real, a love worth fighting for, a love worth all the chaos, all the judgment, all the pain, a love that simply was. And as night wrapped Tuscany in its dark embrace, and the stars shone above, like eternal witnesses, I knew with absolute certainty that I wouldn't change anything, because this was my happy ending. Not perfect, not without complications, but mine, ours, and that was more than enough. It was everything